But Dalton, we got to go over the updated college football playoff after what was an insane rivalry week in college football. Let's go over what we think the playoff should look like as of right now, and at least what I think it should look like. So we might disagree a little bit. We'll talk about this in a second. But the first round buys: Oregon, Texas, SMU, Boise State. We're reminding you guys, the top four right there aren't necessarily the top 4 overall teams in my ranking, but they're the 4 highest ranked, what we think would be the conference champions as of right now. So that is how the 4 highest ranked conference champions look right there. Does that look correct to you? Anything you would change there or no?
Nope.
All right, let's go over to the first round then, see if you change anything there with my first round matchups as of right now. I got number 5, Georgia against number 12, Arizona State, the Big 12 champion. Penn State against Alabama, now back into the playoff after Miami losing to Syracuse. Notre Dame going against Indiana in the battle for the state of Indiana, and Ohio State going against Tennessee in the 8-9 matchup. Anything there that you would change?
So I have 3 things. One, I'm a little surprised. 3, yeah. I'm one of them surprised me. I'm a little surprised you had Ohio State behind Penn State and Notre Dame. I know it's a bad loss to Michigan, but I figured maybe the head-to-head would play a part in it.
I did almost think about it, but I was like,
That's a weird shuffling when we were going through it, is ordering those teams and even Tennessee about where they're going to be, especially considering the way Ohio State looked in that loss. But I'm not. I think you're picking. You're splitting hairs there.
No, that was tough because
that group you're splitting hairs. I think Notre Dame's probably locked in at 5, right? At this point, with what the committee's, and the resume, we'll see. But second, the debate between, I think, Alabama and South Carolina. And maybe there's some debate still with Miami. I just don't think the resume with Miami stacks up, even though those 2 teams have the extra loss. I think it's the one time for me where this season I've kind of pushed back against the SEC is better narrative, but it's more about I just don't know what Miami's done that's been all that impressive. Even a lot of their wins, very tight to Virginia Tech, very tight to Cal, and, just not – they've had spurts where they've looked great, offensively especially, but their defense not there, the resume not there. I think Miami's out, personally. I think that last spot, there is a big debate between if it comes down to Alabama and South Carolina.
Yeah.
Because Alabama did beat them, but it was extremely tight, went down to the wire. Sellers threw an interception at the end in the end zone, right? The other thing for me, and I think here's the biggest one for me the more I was thinking about this, and there was some talk about if Clemson beats SMU, is SMU out? And I think they should absolutely not be. I think, for me personally, SMU I think is a lock to make unless they go in there and for some reason lose by like 30 or 40, which is not happening. I'm sorry, that Clemson's not beating them by like 30 or 40, whatever. They've proven they're not going to do that to a good team. Honestly, I think SMU's going to win anyway. I'm probably going to pick them to win on Tuesday unless I see something weird. I think SMU's a lock.
Yeah,
I think win or lose, I think they should be a lock. If you look at their resume at 11-1 compared to, say, Notre Dame's resume at 11-1, it's awfully similar. And their loss wasn't to Northern Illinois. Their loss was to BYU, who will finish the season ranked inside the top 20. I believe somewhere in. I mean, a BYU team that went 10-2, and they lost by a field goal when they didn't know at the time who they were playing at quarterback. Once they fully committed to Kevin Jennings, they became a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah.
It may be the best defense in the ACC. It may be the best offense in the – they might just be straight up the best team in the ACC, and they have one more game to go and prove it. But I think when you look at 11-1, especially compared to a team like a Notre Dame or a Penn State, SMU's a lock.
Yeah,
for me. I just think even if they lose, and if Clemson beats them and gets one of the top 4 spots –
Alabama's out then.
I think it's Alabama and South Carolina. It should be at the expense of not SMU. If you want to make SMU a road team and put them at number, I don't care, 11 or 12 or whatever, fine. SMU, to me, should be a lock. Go ahead.
Yeah, these are the first 4 out, just to kind of go over. South Carolina just out, BYU's just out, Miami's just out, and Iowa State's just out. That's a good point by you, Dalton, because I agree with you. Because then it's like SMU, it's like, all right, why are we even playing this week then? Because they're already in. If they didn't play in the ACC title game, they'd be in at 11-1.
And I think a big thing was even them taking care of business. They beat Cal 38-6 yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've seen Cal play Miami tight and play some other tight games, and they went out and dominated in a game where the conference record didn't matter, but they knew that possibility still mattered, because SMU at 10-2 and then a loss at 10-3, then I'd go, oh shoot, they're probably not getting in. At 11-1, with to me a very similar, if not better, resume to Penn State and to Notre Dame, And we're not really talking about those two. We're not questioning anything about those two teams at 11-1. SMU, will they be punished in the sense of they'll be down at 10, 11, 12 if they lose? Yeah, fine. But they should be in. There is zero reason SMU should miss, even if they lose to Clemson.
I'm with you.
The only way is if Clemson were to beat them 45-10, which they're not going to do that.
No, but even if they do, though, they're in.
Probably.
They're 11-2. I mean, you can't punish an 11-1 team and put in a 9-3 team just for playing in a conference title game.
I think they would think about it.
It'd be BS if they did that. It'd be complete BS. Because then it's like, if you're SMU, it's like, why do we even play in this game then?
Agreed.
Because we'd be in anyways. So I'm with that. I think SMU's absolutely in.
That's the biggest takeaway actually for me yesterday is that Miami is out.
Yeah, Miami's out.
South Carolina has a shot, and SMU should be a lock, a stone cold lock. Absolutely. I think, and now what Bama and South Carolina are hoping for is that SMU wins that, and they don't even get to that scenario because they'll be the two teams shut out now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Bama and South Carolina, it just comes down to that. Because everything else is, Oregon, Penn State, no matter who wins, they're both in. You look at Texas, Georgia, no matter who wins, they're both in. Big 12, the winner of that game's in. The loser's out.
And the funny part is it's going to be decided in this week's ranking. Not next week. No, not actual selection.
No,
Sunday.
We'll find out.
If they rank Bama ahead of South Carolina this week,
it won't change.
They're not flipping it. They're not going to do that when neither team played. So we're going to find out this week who the last team in would be, and then that team is begging for an SMU win because that's Clemson stealing a spot there. Is what
really it just makes sense what the playoff will look like. We'll know pretty solidly. Like, hey, yes, Alabama/South Carolina is in right now, but will change if Clemson beats SMU.
The two biggest things of suspense this week are Alabama, South Carolina, and the order, like I mentioned before, with Ohio State losing and who might be getting home games here.
Yeah,
that'll be the biggest. And then where the loser of Texas, Georgia falls in that mix also.
Yeah,
and who's getting a bye? I mean, these conference title games are going to be fun.
Yeah, and they would never do this. I told you this is my half-baked idea, but I think Clemson's resume is not good at all. I don't even have it in my top 25. I'll say it right now.
Okay, fine.
But if they win, what if Army beats Tulane? They would never do it. It won't happen.
They shouldn't do it.
But my half-baked thing I was thinking about this morning when I was, of 2 hours of sleep, maybe I'm dead wrong here, but I was like, I might just put Army in over Clemson and make 5 champions. I don't think Clemson's resume sucks. It's not a good resume
You're right.
at all.
But it's
a horrible resume.
But them beating SMU alone might be better.
It might be
better than
and
Army's
it probably would jump Army overall. But I'm looking at 11-1 Army versus a 10-3 Clemson.
And the committee will still have Clemson ranked after this.
No, they will. And again, this is a moot point.
They're probably still going to be inside the top.
It's a moot point because I think there's no way it would happen that the committee would do it. But I personally, I would think about it. I would think about it.
I get what you're getting at because the committee is higher on Clemson.
And I think it's worth a conversation. I don't think it's a complete non-thing.
I think you would have had a better case if Tulane had beaten Memphis, and then Tulane did it. You would have had a better case there.
I look at Clemson's resume. I'm like, dude.
I know
nothing close.
I don't think they're beating SMU. I think SMU to this point has proven they're the best team in the ACC.
Yeah,
and they just have to prove it one more time.
Yeah. So basically, it really just comes down to whether it be Alabama or South Carolina, and then it comes down to if Clemson can beat SMU. Because if they do, then both SMU and Clemson will probably be in, and then Bama, South Carolina will be out. But if SMU takes care of business, then either Bama or South Carolina will get into the college football playoffs. So, hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.